We celebrate the young people in our congregation, and especially we celebrate our graduating seniors. And this morning we have two graduating senior preachers, and Sarah and Connor Skalitzky. And will start us off. But today we celebrate all of our young people that give life to this church. People frequently say to me, the young people are the future of our church. And while that is true, I think sometimes we forget that the young people are the present of this church. They are the church. And we are so grateful to celebrate them and all the gifts that they bring to our community today. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Connor Skalitzky. I am going to be graduating from Arundel High School, and I will be moving on to Anne Arundel Community College. I'm going to focus today on the gospel reading, and particularly this quote. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. So, Judas is now gone, and Jesus is telling the rest of his disciples that soon he will be gone himself. This quote is part of Jesus' final address to his disciples at the Last Supper before he leaves them. Everything that they have done together has led up to this very moment, when Jesus leaves them with one last way for them to remember him. And that is a word called love. Now, what does Jesus really mean by this? This type of love isn't just a person expressing feelings in words. This is a special kind of love. Love is not just a feeling expressed by words. Love is a physical activity. Love is not just saying, I love you to the world, but it is the things that we can physically do to make a difference in people's lives. He's telling them that love is a verb, an action. There is the common phrase about not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk. This is what Jesus is trying to get the disciples to understand. That what people say is not as important as what they do. What's really important is what we do out in the world. The world-renowned author and speaker Deepak Chopra once said, "Love without action is meaningless, and action without love is irrelevant." Just saying words is not enough. 2 weeks ago, our gospel reading was from John chapter 21, and Jesus was talking to Simon, now known as Peter, in the days after his death and resurrection. Jesus asked Simon 3 times, "Do you love me?" Simon answers yes all 3 times, and each time is getting more and more frustrated with the question. He says, "Of course I love you. Why do you keep asking me this?" But Jesus uses this opportunity to once again hammer home his message about what love really is. He doesn't say, "Glad to hear it." Instead, he gives 3 specific commands that are all actions, things he is to go out and do. Jesus tells Simon to first feed my lambs. The second time he says, take care of my sheep. And after the third question, when Simon is really exasperated, Jesus tells him to feed my sheep again. He's explaining for the umpteenth time exactly what he wants the disciples to do. This is how they are to show their love for all, through their actions. And by doing so, they will be showing God's love to the world. Jesus told his disciples at the Last Supper, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another." By commanding his disciples to love one another, Jesus is telling them to go out and visit people who are in need. He's telling them to follow his example, which is to help the poor, sick, homeless, friendless, needy, and troubled, just as he did. Just before this new commandment, Jesus broke bread for the disciples, poured out wine for them, and even washed the feet of everyone in that room. It was a surprise for the disciples, as that would usually be done by a servant. These acts that Jesus did during just this meal, plus all of the deeds that he performed over the years that they were together, serve as a model for his followers, a new standard for what love is. He is showing them in his own actions, by his own example, what he means by the word love. I chose the gospel reading today because it spoke to me as a call to action for all. Jesus is not just talking to his disciples when he speaks about love. He's talking to all of us as well. This gospel is a timely reminder to us seniors especially, who are graduating and entering the adult world. His words are an appeal to us seniors and everyone else to find more ways to help. We can all see his words as a bit of a challenge or an invitation to look for more ways that we can act. And we at St. Martin's are showing Jesus' definition of love through our many outreach activities. When we go to places that help the homeless, like Paul's Place in Baltimore, or when we host a group of homeless men in Heck Hall during our winter shelter, we are showing God's definition of love. When we pack food for hungry school children to eat over the weekends for our Backpack Buddies program, we are feeding his lambs. When we buy presents and food for families as part of the holiday sharing program, we are taking care of his sheep. When we donate to SPAN or to Sarah's House or the Lighthouse Shelter or any of the other wonderful organizations in our area that assist those in need, then we are answering his call. And for me personally, our participation in the Appalachia Service Project is a great example of Jesus' love in action. 2 years ago, in the summer of 2017, I was privileged to be part of St. Martin's first group of workers that went to Wise County in rural Virginia. Over the course of a week, my team was responsible for replacing a floor and fixing a leaky roof. And by doing so, we made a huge difference in the life of a family. It felt so good to know that our help, our actions, were making a big impact. Through ASP, we actually go into people's homes and fix things, talk to them, and pray with them, and clearly show Jesus' example of love. We at St. Martin's, as a congregation, are obviously doing a lot. But there is always more to do. And the gospel today is a call to action. Actions speak louder than words really applies here. Jesus is telling us that it's not about what we say. What's really important is what we do out in the world. There's a song from the 1960s called "They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love." that talks about working with each other side by side. I entreat you to listen to Jesus' call and take it to heart. Accept his invitation to act. Look at your own life and see where you might be able to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world today. Amen.